Hi everyone, welcome into the class 1 of Special Interest as a Career Foundation. My name is Maisie Soetantyo, and on behalf of Autism Career Pathways, I welcome all of you and thank you for taking part in the very first all autistic-led Cultivating Autistic Entrepreneurship. And we hope that throughout the 10 classes, all of you, whether you are an autistic teen working with your parents, or if you are an autistic adults, parents, and also professionals working with autistic people, that you are here to be able to help each other and get ideas and share our stories as autistic adults who are able to successfully run our own home businesses. We are here to share with you all of our successes as well as bumps along the way. And we're hoping that at the end of the course, you will be able to look ahead into your future and have a roadmap on how to be your own business person and running things the way you like it in a most meaningful way. First things first, want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors. Special thanks to Timo. Timo is routine timer app designed to help kids and adults to build healthy transition habits throughout their day. And you guys, as parents, you know it's not easy to help our kids transition throughout the days, especially when they have to leave preferred activities and transition into something less preferred. So Timo app, it's very, very easy to use, and it's designed by Montessori educators with input from parents and kids. And Grace June, Timo's CEO, will be here in class with us. So she will be able to answer your questions as well. And we can talk about some more ideas on transitioning, helping kids to transition better. And yes, this is Timo. Our second sponsor, Rotary Gold Sunrise, has invited me to a couple of their gatherings and has generously donated for this event so that we can give free tickets to autistic adults in need of financial support. And lastly, I'm super excited to announce our last donor and our very own angel investor, Samantha Williams. Samantha has designed a very, very clever way, a guidebook for creative young people who wants to take a teeny tiny idea all the way into actually making it happen as a self-employed or small business owner. So 6P means you begin with a product, P, product or an idea. Then the second P is the planning part. Third P is a partner, finding partners. And then P for production and promote. And the last P stands for purchase. So we will be able to give you this guidebook and fun exercises for all of you guys to do together as a family, or for autistic adults like me. It's also a very, very fun way to take a new idea and see what it takes to make it happen. So there will be $1,000 of seed money. Yes, $1,000 for one winner that our panel will choose. Our panel will vote at the end of the 10th class for the most innovative business plan. So I will be announcing criterias and guidelines soon, and stay tuned. In the meantime, do your class 1 downloadable, and I will be emailing you Samantha's 6 P's of an idea very, very soon. Okay, today's outline, this is what we're gonna present today. Howard Blas is not gonna be here in person because of his religious commitments, but if you have any questions, you can type it up and I will make sure that Howard will get back to you all. And then we have a mystery guest, and we have our non-speaking autistic business owner and his mom, Vanessa Bieker, John Almeda. They will be speaking about their business and how to turn special interest into opportunities. I will be presenting something specific for parents And Matt Haberer will be presenting Harnessing the Geek in Me, and he has a ton of ideas. And then we go into Q&A panel. And then just a reminder, we will be sending you all um, a feedback form through your email, and also your downloadable. For each class, you will have a downloadable that you can do as a family, or if you're an autistic adult, you just do it on your own, and just really start that dream. What does it look like to have a meaningful employment for yourself? And then communication guidelines, just a quick reminder to use respectful language when commenting or asking questions. Sometimes you read something and it becomes a trigger. So just be mindful of your own triggers, and also being mindful when you're typing in the chat box. Always watch for your language. This is a safe place for everyone to share and ask questions and give ideas and give feedback. So we want to keep it that way throughout the class. This is not a group therapy space, so we're not going to be talking about methods, programs, this and that. We're just going to keep it to the topics that we discussed today. And lastly, if you have any questions, if you have technical issues, you can quickly email p.dunleavy@comcast.net, or later on, if you have any questions, this is my email. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think we can get started. Pete, I'm going to stop sharing here. Okay. So we're going to get started with Howard's presentation. So let me just tell you a little bit about Howard before we start the recording. I met Howard a few months ago, and Howard and I share a very common special interest. We both like to travel to places and to really find unique ideas for inclusive hiring. So Howard has traveled as far as Canada, Israel, he's from Israel, and also all over United States to find these teeny tiny places, whether it's a small store in the community or home-based businesses. And he has put together this presentation for us to really share these unique stories to all of you guys. So this is a very special presentation for parents. If you have a young child, you want to look ahead a little bit and think about possibilities, I think you will find this presentation very, very special. There are some people in this presentation that I've known since they were 3 years old, and they're all proud owners of small businesses now. So with the right kind of support, autistic children can grow up to be very capable and successful autistic adults. With the right kind of support, the sky is the limit. So enjoy this presentation.
Thank you, Maisie, for the really, really kind invite. You, Maisie, are one of the fellow travelers I met during COVID. And it's really been a wonderful blessing, because I have discovered that there are a lot of people thinking about employment and neurodiversity. And I want to speak about that this morning or today. I want to share a little bit of my story. First, I'm not a parent of a child who's neurodivergent. I'm not a person with a disability, though, of course, we're all diverse. I'm really kind of an accidental professional in the field of special education and disabilities inclusion. If you look at the next slide, it's a picture of a camp where I've spent about 35 years, and it's called Camp Ramah in New England. It's part of a camping movement. We have 10 overnight camps in the US and Canada. And I showed up at this camp in 1984, actually to work in the kitchen with my best friend. And we figured it would be a hardworking but kind of mindless summer. And at the last moment, I was invited to work in something called the TICFA program, which I came to learn is the program where people with disabilities, mostly developmental and intellectual, are included in an overnight summer camp. And luckily, because of good mentoring, I became a counselor. I learned a lot. I was hooked. I ended up going to graduate school for social work and special education. I've essentially never left camp. Yes, a guy my age still goes to camp, which is really wonderful. The Tikva program has a camping component, and the founders who started the program in 1970 were very visionary, and they realized that campers with disabilities would get older, and they would need to think about jobs and vocational training. So they started a vocational training program, and then ultimately hired some people for salary to work in the camp. So the picture here that I've chosen is Jason, a longtime member of our camp community who was a camper and in the training program and a full salaried person who really had like a management job in our 6-person guest house. The only problem is there comes a time when campers and vocational participants need to graduate. Jason was lucky enough to go on to a job in camp, but we kept hearing from families, don't let my kid graduate. There's really not much for them out there in the world. And they were putting onto this idea that they were going to be double whammied, meaning they would graduate the educational system where they're entitled to a free education, and then what? And they'd be graduating camp at the same time. And this became really compelling. And even someone like Jason, who was so competent and respected in camp, really didn't have many opportunities outside of camp. I learned from these families a very inelegant but and poignant term, which they call falling off the cliff, which refers to, just like it sounds, it refers to what happens after high school. And the data is not very encouraging. It's very simplified here, but it's estimated that 20 million people working age are neurodivergent, 7 million have jobs. I've seen numbers 85% of people with disabilities without jobs, very, very concerning. Some say more. What happens? Some people give up the job search completely. They live at home with the support of disability benefits. Even though a close colleague of Maisie and mine, Andrew Camero, who is himself autistic and a financial planner with a company called Planning Across the Spectrum, even though he will tell us that it's almost always better to work than not, many people don't and rely on these benefits. Even people with college degrees with disabilities are often unemployed or underemployed, poorly paid, and limited hours. So the post high school options are limited. So I guess the worst case scenario is sit at home and do nothing. That means sitting in your parents' basement or living room, spending a lot of time on the sofa watching Netflix, surfing the internet, and really not being engaged meaningfully. Some people go to college, with or without supports. There are some wonderful vocational training programs. Less than a mile from my home in New Haven, Connecticut, we have Chapel Haven, which is also in Arizona, which is wonderful for job training and employment. And some people do luckily go on to actual employment. So it's important to state at the outset that employment can look all kinds of different ways. I think this is something that we've really all begun to realize during COVID, when many people are working from home, are working reduced hours or all kinds of non-traditional hours, not the old-fashioned 9 to 5. Work can really look lots of different ways. So on this slide, I took a stab at what that can look like. It can be part-time, it can be full-time, it could be an internship. Sadly, there are way too many people who have what are called volunteer jobs, which really should be for pay because they're doing the same type of work. They can be predictable, regular hours. They can be flexible hours. They can be at a job site or work from home. And they can be customer facing, like in this picture below, where you're actually interacting with customers. Or if you prefer, they could be, out of, back room or kind of out of view of customers. And this is not just something that people with disabilities or neurodivergent should be thinking about. All of us make choices. You may choose to be an accountant working indoors. You may choose to be selling products to a customer. You may want to be a surfing instructor or a tennis pro. Those are all very different choices in very different settings with different hours. So how did I get started in this area trying to find job sites. Of course, I said that it came from my camp experience and hearing families talk about their desperation about what happens next. But I heard a story about a wonderful company in Long Island City, New York at the time, and it was called Love Michael's Granola Company. And it was started by an ear, nose, and throat doctor, Dr. Lisa Liberator, and her husband. And they figured, they were paying college tuition for another child. For that same tuition, they could start a company and train 4 people with autism in a very meaningful job. And they came up with a granola company. And this is a really wonderful model. I went to visit, and you'll see later I have a whole website of these jobs. But I was very taken by it, and I said, Lisa, where do you find out about other types of businesses like this? So she put me on to what's on this slide, a Facebook group called Autism Entrepreneurship. There are several similar groups like this if you search, but I got my start there. And I spent a couple of days really combing through all the posts to find out what are the types of jobs that exist for people with autism and other disabilities. But I also found a lot of desperate parents saying things like, my son likes magic cards. He's 25. What's he going to do the rest of his life? So I combed that site, and then I was able to get a small grant, and through word of mouth, through online search, through hearing from people, asking a lot of questions, I began to discover that there are a lot of either disability-owned businesses or disability-friendly and employing businesses across the country and around the world. But we'll keep this talk to the U.S. So, what did I find? Okay, I found that there are many options in many industries and in many states. And I'm really trying to put together this complete map. And you see that my website has the beginnings of that. I have about 30 places that I visited and that I've asked the owners to meet with me to tell me some of the lessons learned. That's also on my website. Um, and, you can see the place on the top left. These are not mentioned in this talk, but the top left is a resale store for American Girl dolls. Next is John from John's Crazy Socks. And the below is probably the best pizza store in the country. It's called Smiling with Hope Pizza in Reno, Nevada. Okay, but I'm going to keep tonight's talk really narrowly focused. That was Maisie's request, to really mostly work from home businesses. Okay. But the point in this slide is that there are so many options. There are granola companies and sock companies and cafes and car washes and people with disabilities working in quality assurance and cybersecurity. We should get rid of this horrible notion that I once heard that there are 5 F's for people with disabilities. I've heard 8 F's, that people with disabilities do things in the fields of folding, filing, flowers, filth, and other things like that. And this talk is about the opposite. It's about really exploring amazing places. So the rest of this talk will focus on 15 places that I've identified across regions and areas. This talk could have covered 100. Okay, that's beyond the scope here. I'm not a paid spokesperson who gets a commission from any of these places. They're just really places that I've really been taken by. So I begin with Big Al's Best in Milpitas, California, which is around San Francisco. And it was really one of the first places that I visited. And I was really taken by it because this is a mom who really helped her son carve together meaningful work across a number of different areas. And the picture on the left is Al doing an internship at a senior citizen center, putting out lunch several days a week. The picture on the bottom right is making one of his specialties with his mom is making toffee from home, which is for sale. At the time, he had worked in a garden supply store across the street from the senior center. And also, he's very gifted at doing calligraphy. And they would oftentimes make cards and things like that, which they would sell locally. So this was one person that really caught my attention, really looking at your child's strengths and coming up with a variety of different things that he or she can do. Then in my journey, I came across Purely Patrick and his amazing mother, Mary Ann. So now we're back. Now we're going very far across the country, east to Stowe, Vermont. And if you are a skier or a lover of the beautiful mountains and outdoors, this is close to the Ben and Jerry's factory. If you're ever in this part of the country, they have free tours and samples. But they operate. This family operates a bed and breakfast, and their son Patrick is considered one of the most disabled in the state of Vermont. Fortunately, Vermont provides a lot of support services. He's nonverbal, he has vision issues and motor issues. And as the mother described it, his the kind of the thing he was able to do, they call this hand farts. He was able to use his hands like this, and they were able to use that to generate a machine that would measure out quantities of things like flour or beans or things like that. And they turned this into a whole business of pre-measured kits. And you can see on the bottom left, beautiful kits that get shipped out to you to do things like make a soup quickly, or to make brownies, or bird seed assortment for birds. And I was really taken by this is a person who on one hand seems to be so disabled, but they've really found the right job for him. And they have a beautiful map of all the places in the country where they shipped out their product. Now, the next one is not, technically it's not an at-home business, but with Maisie's permission, I wanted to add this. It's called the Joy Do Foundation. Joy Do are the English translations of the Hebrew names of the two nonverbal autistic sons of the founders. And these very creative parents said, they're sick and tired of people saying that nonverbal equals low intelligence, because they knew that their sons were quite intelligent. And they really set out to prove that, and to set up a high level, meaningful employment program for people like their sons. And what did they do? They created the Joy Do Foundation, where they train people mostly with autism, but other disabilities, to do things like read mammograms, building on some people's tremendous visual spatial skills, cybersecurity, robotics, sound engineering, pattern recognition, medical imaging, digital content management. And they've chosen to do this kind of in-house, where they can support their workers. And if you're reading mammograms, it doesn't matter if you're sending the results across the street to a hospital or across the world. Now, the next two businesses I'm going to talk about, I'm a little biased. These were people who are campers in my camp program at Camp Vermont in New England. Alexa lives in Long Island, New York. And Alexa loves baking and cooking, and she loves Oreos. And she took a very simple concept. She basically dips Oreos into melted chocolate, and can put there with a color printer that's edible, where it's not paper, but it's like frosting or icing. You can put things on there like "Happy Birthday, Howard" or 50-second Super Bowl, and they're shipped out all across the country. So this is a one-person business out of the kitchen of her house. These two guys, Jacob on the left and Oriel on the right, were campers in the vocational program at my camp. They both worked in the office, in the mailroom, and they took a liking to office jobs. But back in their civilian life in Maryland, Jacob was working at a FedEx Kinko's. Oriel was working in a college cafeteria. And then COVID came, and they both found they were out of work. And their parents, their moms who were friends, they really spoke with them at length. What did they like to do? They realized everybody's cleaning their houses during COVID, getting rid of clothes and donating and going through old papers, hence the need for a shredding company. So they started Shred Support. Now, this is a business I have not visited, but next time I'm in Alabama, I will definitely get there, because who doesn't like ice cream? This is Hunter Norwood, is a young man with Down syndrome. He's the CEO of the company. And this ice cream truck can show up at your company picnic, or at your church or synagogue event. And they have a very nice selection of ice cream. So if you happen to be in Alabama, or if you want to create something similar in your state, it's even more important. This seems like a very replicable concept. So now we're in Alabama, and then we're going to go back to California. And this is something that I discovered in my online search. I have not met Jasmine yet, but I was taken by Jasmine. Jasmine likes to sew. This is considered on the site, it's called a not for profit business. And they make one of a kind family keepsakes, like you see in the picture. Things like banners that say happy birthday or happy Easter or God bless America. So this is a banner company. Um, Hannah's Happy Hands takes us back across the country to North Carolina. And I discovered Hannah because I actually discovered her brother who also has disabilities. And there's a resale, kind of a high-end resale company, resale shop in Charlotte, North Carolina called Zab's Place. And that in the different parts of Zab's Place, people with disabilities sell to customers. They sell on Etsy. They organize books and clothing and cutlery and things like that. But some people are not really interested in working at a customer-facing job. They're more comfortable working at home. And then if they make a product, they can ask the owner to consider the product for sale. And then they come up with a contract of what percentage goes to the person and which goes to the company. And I visited Hannah's family in their house, and this is an artisan soap and bath bomb company. And apparently, when Hannah was young, she loved how when you drop soap into water, it would make a sound. And some things can turn the water colors, but it got kind of expensive. And they said, wait a minute, we could do this ourselves. And they turned this interest into a soap making company. Hannah's Happy Hands. Now, the next two slides are also people that I've met and come to really like. I also lead trips to Israel for people with Asperger's. It's called the Birthright Asperger's trip, using that old name. And one of the young men that I discovered, Brian Martin, I was fascinated to hear about his business. Brian loves books, and he saw that there are so many books that get discarded. You know, I see this in the streets of New York City. What do you do with old books? Maybe someone will pick them up. Maybe they'll get recycled. Libraries even do the same thing. And he discovered that you could kind of carve out the pages of a book and turn it into a journal that you could use as your writing journal. So that really became his business. He does the same thing with DVDs and makes ornaments from discarded books. So it also has a nice environmental piece. It makes picture frames out of these books and something called bouquets, like bouquets, flowers out of old books. So environmental and a great at-home business based near Chicago. Color Art Town is also one that I learned about leading this birthright trip. Jake Rose is a college graduate. He's on both the pictures here, the green shirt and the striped shirt. Jake loves architecture and he loves photography. And he had this idea to work with artists who can take his photographs and translate them into coloring books. So they're really kind of like adult coloring books that you'll find kind of in bookstores or gift shops. And he really goes around the country. He has one on Central Park and on some of the towns in Long Island in New York, Miami, Newport, Rhode Island, Philadelphia, New Orleans. It's a lovely concept. There's note cards, there's postcards, and there are the books. So to take everybody, out of the United States, a little north to Canada, I discovered Brad in an online search. And as someone who's not very handy, I was taken by Brad because we all need a Brad in our life. And what was amazing about Brad, he is the definition of how people can have abilities and disabilities at the same time. Brad is 28, he's autistic, he's nonverbal. It says on the website that he can't read, but he has a knack for putting things together. He can assemble anything. He would be your go-to guy if you bought IKEA furniture and you had no idea what to do with it, because he would just know how to put it together. Well worth the price of paying Brad. I came across this company at a conference, an entrepreneurship conference, I guess last year. And I was also very taken by this family in Iowa. And ever try to start a campfire or your grill or something like that? It's not so easy, or a wood stove. So Daniel, who is autistic, had this idea to make like a fire, something that will start a fire with no problem. So he collects recycled materials, so it becomes a community project. It becomes a recycling project. People donate cardboard egg cartons and candle wax, and he works his magic and puts it into these fire starters. And speaking of magic, we actually have an autistic magician who is awesome, Cody Clark. I have a feeling you may hear from him or hear more about him later on. But Cody is a go-getter. He is a he in the pre-COVID days. He was flying all over the country to do magic tricks and magic classes in person. He did what everybody did. He quickly pivoted. He learned how to do this online. He really hustled a lot of business, and which is wonderful. I've seen when I interviewed him, he couldn't resist doing some magic during our interview, which I thought was amazing. So no, don't just tell, but show. Cody also does special shows that focus on disabilities, a different way of thinking, autism advocacy, adult transition planning. He again, I'm not a paid spokesperson, but he is someone you should definitely get to know. Cody also loves trains, and he has a special conductor Cody show. And he's really combined his college interests of theater arts and marketing to turn this to really take a love of his and turn this into a career. So I've really come to like Cody a lot. I'm very proud of his work. So I guess when a parent wants to discourage a kid to just keep that as a hobby, it is possible to turn that into a business and a career. Um, and as someone who is a big bike rider and not a very good book fixer, so now you know a lot about me. I'm not a good builder or fixer. Um, Thank God there are people who are good at these kind of things. And I discovered Bike Dr. Derek online. It says that he's autistic and has cerebral palsy. He always loved watching things spin. And guess what? He became very good at fixing bikes, which is an amazing job. And when I talked before about things that are customer facing or things that don't involve customers, what a wonderful kind of solitary job. Look at the picture on the left. You don't see anybody around him. It's like you can work with quiet, you can listen to music if you choose to, and nobody distracts him. And it even says he communicates with customers through typing. So I wanted for the last business, I want to take you far away from where the other ones were. I want to take you to Israel. And I was in Israel a couple weeks ago, and I met these terrific guys who started a company called Doggies Dog Walking Service. And on the surface, it just sounds like just any old business. It's two guys who met in business school. They were lamenting how hard it is to be a student and also be a dog owner. Who's going to walk your dog? Almost like when you're a parent, who's going to help care for your kids? And they had this idea to start an app and a dog walking service in Tel Aviv, which is a very densely populated beach area in Israel, where they reportedly have 41,000 dogs. And through one of they won a competition through Google. They got some funding. Through one of their funders, they were put onto this lovely, very well-connected and smart Israeli named Aviad Friedman. And Aviad said to them, have you thought about employing people with autism? And he explained that this could be that many people with autism like routines and they like things the same. They're responsible. And you know what? Dogs also like routines. And what a good match that would be. And as they explained, they said, tell a person who's autistic, the dog walking is at 8 o'clock. It's 8 and not 8:30. Tell them that it's on Main Street and not Maple. They'll do it. And dogs like that too. So they now are striving to be one of the top employers in Israel of people with disabilities, and they're looking to expand to other countries and other cities where they have a lot of dogs. So though that is my roundup of 15 places that I think are terrific. It is by no means exhaustive. There are many, many more. Um, if I could pull this off together, okay, again, that's John and John's Crazy Socks that you could look at. The message is really quite simple. Other than what I said at the beginning, start when your child is really young. It's never too early to think about what comes next, whether it's employment or whether it's about benefits or housing. Never too early to start thinking. But when you're thinking about jobs, think outside of the box. There are lots of creative options. There are a lot of resources around. If your child likes animals, don't hesitate to talk to the owner of the pet store or the veterinarian in your church or in your kids' school. And don't be afraid to just try something. Like with any of us, you can go down a certain career path and you can change. We thank God we live pretty long. You can change careers, and that's really, really okay. And I think I could have done an entire talk. I'm sure we'll hear about this more in these courses about why do people work. And we all know that working is not only for the salary, though that's important. It engages us intellectually. It makes us more healthy. It engages us socially. So there are so many reasons that people should have jobs and really crave having jobs. So I will end here, and I will apologize for not being able to be here in person with you as much as I would have liked to. This is really, for anybody who works in the summer camp world, this is the season. And the camp I'm about to fly out to is in Northern California, and camp starts really soon. So I will be busy with staff week and campers coming. And as you can imagine, parents are very happy and campers are very happy that most camps around the country will be opening. And that was not the case 1 year ago. So I'll end on that very positive note. And I would be very, very happy if you wanted to write with questions, if you wanted to call or text. My website has a lot of that information about job resources. Thank you very much for this opportunity to be part of this class.
Hello again. That was a wonderful presentation. I love hearing it again. So has anyone figured out who our mystery man is? There you go, Cody. You can take it from here. The stage is yours, my friend.
Thank you, Maisie, and what an intro from Howard earlier. My name is Cody Clark, and I am so happy to be sharing my business with you all as a magician and autism advocate. And I think it's important because, as we all know in here, people's first perceptions of autism tend to be a bit too black and white for my tastes. People think we're either geniuses or failures. People think we're nonverbal or walking dictionaries who won't shut up, Grace. People think we're cold and unemotional, Julia, or they think we are cold and unemotional, or they think that we are having meltdowns at Walmart. Not much in between, only black and white. Until, my friends, we have a different way of thinking about autism, much like we all do here, because we know it's really a magical, colorful, and quite diverse spectrum. Thank you all. Full of some of the best business owners we can patronize. And as a matter of fact, let's have a toast to that. I'm sure by now we need a drink after Howard's great presentation. And you came prepared because you did the interview with me last week. You figured I'd be doing this. On a count of three, let's all have a toast to autistic entrepreneurship. 1, 2, 3. To autistic entrepreneurship. Cheers and have a sip, because lots of us with autism don't remember when to eat or drink, so here's your reminder. Life has given me many opportunities, like the opportunity to get connected with Maisie and this great group of people. But life has also given me many challenges many trials, many what we would call knots. Fear not, Matt. But if you see your knots as opportunities, they'll fall right away. Thank you, Theresa. Love seeing your applause. And that's the same with business opportunities. We've heard about 15 different great businesses that are friends of Howard's that are doing amazing things in their communities. But I'm sure all of them, myself included, would tell you it is a knot at times because success requires a lot of failure, getting sales requires a lot of rejection, and running a small business requires executive functioning that we don't know automatically. There are so many reasons it is a knot. But we learned through orgs like Maisie's that these knots are opportunities and that no knot is too tough for us. And no knot is too tough for any of you, especially you, Sean. Everyone, I'm going to start this knot for you. Would you all put your hands like this and grab the ends? Everyone grab the ends. Good job, Theresa. Good job, Sean. Good job, Julia. Good job, Maisie. Now, would you all pull outward? Pull, 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 pull. Then let go of your right hands. Good job. Good business teamwork. Now just take your fingers, a pen, or a Harry Potter magic wand and cast a magic spell over the knot. Now grab the knot and pull down. Pull, 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 pull. We did that one as a team. But though we see these knots as opportunities, though as a result, they're chilling in my glass, I must back up and remind you all, especially you, Grace, that there will still be plenty of battle scars along the way. These remind us that our trials are as much a part of our life as our business successes, our profits as important as our losses. All give us a good reason to have a toast to us being autistic entrepreneurs. Cheers. Thank you, Christian. With my last moment or two, I'll say look me up at codyclarkmagic.com. The best 1-second bit of advice is find a target market, because everyone else's mistake is that they target the whole world at once. And that may be cheaper advertising, but it's not as concentrated advertising. We're focusing only on the subset of people who are predisposed to wanting your service. That is a better place to spend your efforts because it yields higher results. And that's why I do a lot of targeting with the special needs community. So I'm Cody Clark. Find your target market.
Cody, amazing. From one storyteller, Howard, to you, another great storyteller. What a performance. Thank you so much. That was very, very clever. Everything.
Appreciate
Congratulations.
it, Maisie.
Yeah, I love how you started with your special interests and you continue to develop it, and look at you today. So I'm going to reserve questions for Cody towards the end when we have all the questions for the panel. So we're going to move on. That was superb, Cody. Thank you so much. I'm going to give you all a sneak peek to our downloadable. This is what we are going to be sending you all through email. So this is Labor of Love. That's Big Al and his toffee right there. And on the left, that's my team, Brandy Haberer and Rachel O'Keeley, our youth project advisor. So the first part that you're going to be doing with your family or individual is to really dig deep to understand yourself. And this is a worksheet for you to think about everything about you, about who am I? Things, all your favorite things, favorite people, favorite activities, things that you love to write about, think about, take pictures of, everything, and also the environment that you work the best in. And to the right, you will see representations, and this is a list of questions from our autistic junior advisor, Rachel O'Keeley. I think she's somewhere in here as one of the panels, so you can ask her more questions later on. How do I see myself? How do I think I'm seen by others? And also, how do I want people to see me? Those are really terrific questions that I didn't think of. So thank you, Rachel. And then now we move on to special interests. I want you to think about your longest running special interests and maybe a couple of future special interests. I wrote up some fun activities that you can do with a family or your partner. There are resources we put together, books you can get as part for parents, also for families here. And last year on the top, there is the title Geek Resources. This is specifically put together by Matt. And for beginners, computer engineers, and people who love to play PS4 and so on, this is a list for you. So Matt will be presenting last. All right, so the next thing we are going to do is I'm going to present the Flybrave Foundation founders, and Pete's going to play their presentation. So John Almeda and his mom, Vanessa Bieker, they're going to be doing a short presentation to show you about their business and John's special interests. Enjoy.
Flybrave. When I look back at the beginning when John was first diagnosed, what I can share with parents is it's a shock when you receive a diagnosis like this, not just autism, any diagnosis. Of course, it's a shock because your life is changing and you will go through feelings. I cried and I tried to understand what this life was going to look like. But I guess my message to everyone is don't stay there too long. Process it and then realize you were given a gift. John is a gift. And there are going to be hard times and challenging times and times you may fall to your knees and cry. But you keep picking yourself up and hold on to hope, because these kids, John, your children, they're game changers. They're going to change the world. And these amazing individuals teach us the meaning of life. Before John, I never stopped and smelled the roses. With John, every milestone was a success. It gives you a different perspective and makes you want to be better. You make me want to be better. You make me want to be a better person.
Yeah.
I noticed that John had special interests when he was getting into the teenage years, about pre-adolescent. John was diagnosed with autism in 1996 when he was 2 years old. And although John is nonverbal, he is completely able. He understands direction and he's able to communicate in a unique way. So when we were working on his fine motor skills, we started making bracelets, simple bracelets. And he was about 12 or 13 years old, and it occupied his time and he really seemed to enjoy it. And we would just give them out to friends and family members and things like that. As he continued to get older, he started taking an interest in yard work. So he started mowing our lawn when he was about 14. And a few of our neighbors were widowers and elderly. And they walked down and asked if John would be willing in mowing their yard. And he was. So he became our neighborhood lawnmower. And he is so meticulous and he leaves the yard beautifully manicured, right, John?
Yeah.
You love mowing the lawn?
Yeah.
And making bracelets.
Yeah.
You enjoy that?
Yeah.
So when he aged out of school, I started looking for avenues for him. I reached out to landscaping companies and reached out to different little boutiques. And being that he was nonverbal, I felt employers were unaware of how talented he was and maybe didn't want to assume the liability. So we got creative and we started our own foundation, and he runs a successful landscaping business and a little jewelry workshop. John has a very, very special gift on top of all of the other gifts that encompass this beautiful human being right here. John is a runner. John ran the Boston Marathon in 2019, and he is getting ready to rerun the Boston Marathon October 11th, 2021. We found this gift one night. We were out for a walk, and our local high school track was open, and John was having trouble sleeping. So our evening walks soothed him and got him ready for his nighttime routine. He ran around that track several times, and he was so joyful. He slept through the night. He woke up with energy and so happy. Do you enjoy running?
Yeah.
And it was right then and there that I knew we were onto something. So I signed him up for the Special Olympics. I became a coach so that I could be on field with him. And he learned all of the fundamentals of running. He ran a 5-minute mile in Special Olympics, obtaining dozens of gold medals. And that led to 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, 20 milers, full marathons, 50Ks, 50 milers. And one day he hopes to run the Western States 100. A few tips I would give parents that have younger children or children going into puberty, because I feel across the board puberty is a challenge. For those of us who are neurotypical, puberty is a challenge. It was a challenge for me. It was a challenge for my brothers. But for those who are neurodiverse, I feel it's even more challenging, especially for individuals like John who are nonverbal and being able to better express themselves of all of these hormones and emotions that are racing inside of them. With John, I tried so many different hobbies and interests and different talents with him. We tried soccer, baseball. We always went camping, fishing, things like that. He didn't find an appreciation or an interest in those early on, but as time progressed and we continued to go out on hikes and continued to go outdoors and experience the earth, he really fell in love with it, and it's a passion, and he really enjoys the outdoors. You love camping?
Yeah.
And fishing. And so we climbed Lindbergh Dome in Yosemite. It was one of our highest summits so far, huh? And so we just go out there and conquer our fears. We look up at the mountain, and it's sort of like everyday life. Every day we're climbing a mountain. And here we're physically in front of a mountain. We look up, and when we get to the top, it's like we can do anything, right?
Yeah.
So what I would suggest for parents is never give up. We didn't find John's true gift of running until he was 21 years old. John's 27 today. John is still learning to tie his shoes because of his fine motor. This does not take away from his intelligence or the greatness that he possesses. He just has a unique, different way of doing things. And so I just want to tell parents out there, hold on to hope, because these kids were all born to do great things. They all have a passion and talent and interest inside of them. It just may take a little longer than others to find that and pull that out. What would you like to show everyone out there? Would you like to pick some of your favorites? Oh, the mermaid necklace. Okay, so you just hold it up so you can see it on screen a little higher.
Oh, I love that. That's
okay,
beautiful.
What else do you want to show? Okay, so we want to turn it this way. And this is the Rock Moon collection here. It's a bracelet. Let's show some of the beaded bracelets, because that's really where your talent and strength lies. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So you want to turn it the other way so they can see. It says love in sign language. And it's these beaded bracelets that go on. And how about if we oh yeah, you love the glass leaf, don't you?
I love that. It's so beautiful.
So these are some of his favorites. So he's known for his beaded bracelets, and I think you call them cabochons. So this is our little owl collection because we are fly brave. And so what he does is we get these charms, and they come with these glass inserts. And then what he does is he finds different pieces of colored paper, and he traces around the circle, and then he uses this clear glue to put the image on the glass and then glue it into this. So this is like a long necklace. Can I show them? So, you know, it's very, very long. So if you're wearing like a long sweater or shirt or something like that. So these are hot sellers, and he's also known for his wonderful beaded bracelet. This is a smaller one. So he did Marilyn Monroe on this one. And so this is a really fun, easy task for anyone out there that's interested in jewelry making. You get, these are called cabochons and glass inserts, and you can put any photo you want in there. You can go on a Word document and create a wonderful quote, size it down to 1 inch and glue it in there, and you have this beautiful necklace.
I can really see how proud John is. Like his face just is lighting up. It's showing people his work. It's amazing.
Follow your heart. Follow your heart.
I love it. All right. So do you have any more? Or that's your collection?
He has a whole collection here. These are all of John's beautiful jewelry designs here. Oh, yes. This one says, I love someone with autism. Is little. So another thing that he really enjoys that I help him with this part is jewelry stamping. And so you have these nails with letters on the end, and you hammer them into the charm, and you can write anything you want on there. And then after you hammer them, you take a black fine marker and you fill it in. So he really enjoys that part, but I have to help him. Anchors away. This is our Gilligan's Island tribute, huh? Anchors away. Wonderful, John.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing everything with the audience.
What do you think? One more? Okay. This is the anchor that goes with that collection, by the way. So he just wanted to make sure that we showed the collection as a whole, bracelet, necklace, matching. And where can people find your jewelry? Flybrave.org, click on shop, and you can buy any of these items there. Coffee.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So John just celebrated his 27th birthday, and he got $180 in Starbucks gift cards. So we loaded him up on the phone, and when we go into Starbucks, he just puts it on there. But John spends his money on coffee, and what's your other thing? What's the other thing that you like? Oh, and milk. He really loves milk. And running shoes. So John loves running shoes. What? Yes, coffee with milk and sugar. So he likes caramel macchiatos, don't you, John? So John, when he gets his money, he saves it up. And when he reaches a couple $100s, then we'll go get some running shoes, sunglasses. John isn't into, it's interesting, when we go shopping, he's not really interested in gadgets and things that are out there. But when we're going looking for running clothes, he will just go through every rack, and he feels everything, you know, for the texture. And so that's what he spends his money on: running clothes, running shoes, and coffee. Lots and lots of coffee.
Ooh, that was so great. I love it. I love John's Jewelry Boutique. Isn't that beautiful? Yes. So next is actually my turn. I'm the only one doing live presentation. So I'm going to share my screen, and my presentation today is really designed for parents. And the title is How to Nurture Special Interests in Autistic Children. So I'm going to get started here. Okay. Full screen. Okay, so what is actually special interests? And I know that we have many neurodivergent adults in here, so really feel free to ask all of us questions in the chat box, and hopefully you'll be able to get some great ideas and explanations. So special interests is different for different than hobbies in that it's a meaningful and enduring and sophisticated, very comprehensive and dedicated passion towards certain things or topics. So for myself, one of my longest, I think it's the only one, the longest special interest I've had since I was a little girl is actually my love of sports knowledge and sports watching. It's different than doing sports. I don't do sports, but I love all kinds of sports. And I have fond memories of me and my dad actually watching Muhammad Ali and all of the badminton stars and games and Olympics since I was a little girl. And he introduced me to the world of sports when I was a little girl as a way to connect with me, I think. And it was just something that I grew to love, and still to today, this is something that I really enjoy doing. Myths about autistic special interests. Does one have to be physically able to participate in the activity? No, like I'm a perfect example of that. I'm horrible at doing sports, but I love everything about sports. I listen to sports radio. I only remember numbers and statistics when it comes to sports. And is it always a solitary preference? It could be, but it's also a way for us to share what's in our mind and what we want to talk about with family members. Is it intense and obsessive in nature? Actually, for autistic people, it's really a game changer for us to have special interests because it's something that we're willing to push through when it comes to like pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zone. It could be a reason for us to wake up in the morning because there's something that we can look towards for at the end of the day. So it's not really for us, the function is not obsession, but it's really something that is making sense to us in our world and a way for us to have a bridge with other people, sharing our interests. Does it have to be age appropriate? I know a lot of autistic adults who still enjoy dinosaurs, who still love the feeling of like marbles, all these collections of things, stuffed animals, cosplays, costumes, Star Wars, you name it. It's not really, I think special interest is ageless for autistic people. So for the parents here, just keep that in mind. We need to nurture it instead of taking it away. Does it have to lead to a career path? It may be, but it doesn't have to be. Okay, so keep that in mind. More about special interests. Special interests can function as something to be proud of. And I'm going to show you pictures of people's special interests, and you will see the progression into actually a great career later on in their lives. Something to be proud of because we know a lot about it. It could be something that we make with our hands, and it's something that because we take part in the process, we're very proud of it. It gives us a great sense of accomplishments. So at any age, you know, if you have an autistic child who's not yet showing what they're interested in, so keep exposing them, to keep inviting them to in the process, right? It's also a great conversation starter. So for example, for me, my love of sports really gives me a template to understand back and forth communication. So did you know that every sports has that back and forth nature, whether we're talking about ping pong, basketball, soccer, tennis, you name it, there's that back and forth, right? It usually involves a ball and it goes back and forth, back and forth. Now, in group sports also, what I love to watch when I watch group team sports, I love to see how the players actually communicate with each other non-verbally. I love to watch the pace of the game and how the communication is very, very subtle. So I could just watch that and really enjoy figuring out the different types of interactions and relationships involved in a team sports. Now, my passion in sports actually gave me a window to connect to all the dads that I work with. And I work as a family coach and parent and professional coach. So my knowledge in sports really helped me to break the ice with people, because everyone is always interested in some kind of sports. It doesn't matter if they're in China, for example, or in Europe. It's also a self-regulation reset. So when I have a hard day, I know that I can watch sports, and then it's helpful for me to just shift my mind into something that I enjoy and productive for myself. It's a safe ritual. Also, something to look forward to, and a way to also build resilience. It's a way, I know that my son loves spinning tops ever since he was younger, so we really nurture it, meaning we actually get down and sit on the floor with him to play the spinning tops. We share his special interests, we nurture it. So when he earns pocket money, we just allow him to get the next thing that he wants to complete his collection. So it's a way to build resilience for autistic kids. It's also learning opportunities. So if you like sports or you like cooking, you can incorporate math or anything. It's full of learning opportunities. With YouTube, I learned so much from YouTube, and I may only watch a lot of sports on YouTube or follow certain teams or certain players, but it's still a meaningful knowledge to me that I can potentially share with other people. It allows your child to find other people with similar interests. And now with Instagram, social media, TikTok, they will find their own group of people who share a special interest. And it's also a really fun way to connect with each other at home in the evenings or on weekends. For sure you will be able to have more back and forth or shared experiences if you build it around your family members, everyone's special interests. So that's a good keep in mind. Okay, oops, what happened there? Special interests, keep in mind, it can fulfill sensory needs. Please, parents, do not use your child's special interests as a reward of a bribe. You shouldn't be doing, well, if you eat your dinner first, then you get to play with spinning tops. If you get an A, and then you get to buy the spinning tops. I'm just using our special interests in our family. So don't do that. I think the reward should come from just shared experiences. The reward should develop internally from being able to do better in that special interest, for a person to be able to set up like a small goal within that special interest, and that sense of pride would be just internal motivation. So please do not use reward or bribing. And special interests develop over time. Like mine, it's been there forever. we sometimes it takes time to develop the interest. So let's say you love baseball. I know Sean here, he really loves baseball, and he actually plays baseball with his son. But it just takes time, you know, and you might watch baseball games together, even though your autistic child is not able to handle, you know, the crowds at the baseball game. So you can still find ways that you can share that passion and interest, but you modify your expectations. So you want to set expectation when you nurture that special interest, but you also want to modify it, right? And get your autistic family member to be proactive in that process. So a special interest can be about an activity, a person, a movement. So it could be different kinds of things. So I have collected some pictures to show you. And this is actually one of my Instagram follower. He started an account and it caught my eye, and I brought so many people, other mushroom lovers, to him. And now he has over 100 follower just by connecting with me, and I gave him a shout out and people gave him a lot of love, and now he's got his own group of people who share his love of mushroom growing. So with if your kids have phones, they will eventually find their own people who love that one thing that they really enjoy. And to the right is a photo of Anthony. He is, I believe, 14, 15, maybe this year. And look at what he has done. He loves to take photos with his iPhone. He staged these cars, these metal cars, and to the point that the final photo looked like just an actual car. You can't tell the difference. I mean, it looks real. So he's got it. That's his gift. And Howard talked about a big Al, Alex, and this is the one guy who's very close to my heart. I knew him when he was 3 years old, and when he was younger, he had this special interest of collecting orange things. It's usually orange. He loves wearing orange t-shirt, everything orange. And when you come to his house, he has a corner where you could see his current collection, and he loves it. And look at how it has transformed now, his ability to visually organize objects into this business that he owns. He sells his award-winning toffee, and he's very meticulous. He's very organized, and once he gets started, he doesn't stop, guys. So he has an incredible work ethic that I think, you know, even myself cannot sit for that long and be that meticulous and very, very systematic. And this is Big Al's best. If you want to find his toffee, if you're in San Diego, that's his business, Big Al's best. He's also on Facebook. Unfortunately, he does not ship. So this is Big Al, and he works at the library, and he's very good because working at the library is also very systematic. He enjoys it there. And to the left is Ben. He loves tortoises. So when I visited him in my country, Indonesia, he took me on a very comprehensive tour of, he had about like 30 tortoises at his home of different kinds. And he wants to be able to have a pet store selling only tortoises. So anything is possible. But he's learning how to create a website, how to build his Instagram account, and so on, based on this special interest. And to the right is Miss Catherine Devine. I don't know if you're here, Kat, but I'm going to play. Kat has always loved animals, and Kat is a certified dog massage therapist in Australia. So I'm gonna just play a little bit of this clip here, just to warn you, there will be some crowd sounds. I'm gonna turn my volume down so it doesn't startle you, and I'm gonna show you what she does best. Okay, that's really good living for the puppy. I'm very, very jealous. But this is what she does. She's quite famous in Australia. She was recently interviewed on TV. She's such a great advocate. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Okay, last slide. Parent tips. I put this together for parents who are still trying to figure out what is my child's special interest. So I think the first tip, and this is very important, is to release our need as an adult for our autistic loved one to perform. So it's very easy to fall back into, like, maybe you should do it like this. So we tend to take over. So then we take away the fun from the activity itself, right? Let's say you have a child who really loves to read books, always looking at books and pictures. But as parents, a lot of times we feel like, we need to test my child's knowledge. I want to make sure that my child remember his colors and so on. So then it becomes a test of the child's knowledge instead of really the shared experiences. I think the love of reading or books can take your child into becoming a great writer later. So sometimes we don't realize our need for our child to perform actually kills that special interest development. So I would really like you to keep that in mind. Sharing our own interests with our child is a really important opportunity. So for example, if you like to cook, just slowly nurture that. Maybe invite your child to just do one thing, like cracking the egg or stirring the batter, and that's it. So as parents, sometimes we overcomplicate things and we don't understand that if we set things up to be so complicated because we want the outcome and we insist on having like a successful outcome, then our child is not able to be successful. So if you have a passion and interest in anything, then share it with your child and do that in an inviting way. Remember to set expectations, but also adjust expectations. And when you have children who are very resistant because they're tired for whatever reason, and they're not usually keen to sit next to you when you're trying to involve them into something or invite them and they want nothing from the activity, then the first tip I have is to not take it personally. Maybe it's not a good timing, but many where you have to get started is actually do nothing. So if you are in that situation at this point, it just means that you have to repair the trust, and doing nothing is what I'm asking you to do. Go take walks and not say anything, sit together and not say anything. As an autistic person, silence is wonderful when I don't have the bandwidth to do anything else. And being able to be appreciated and just sharing the space with my family member and not being expected to do certain things, I think that's love and appreciation from my family. So I really want to give you guys this tip. If you have kids who are very resistant, then the first thing you have to do is take many days, maybe a couple weeks, to just do nothing and chill together. No expectations. So when the first thing that you say to your child, if you tend to say things like this, I want you to do this and this and this, you just have to catch yourself and not do that anymore, because then you become you're becoming an instructor instead of being engaging and mindful and making yourself attractive to a young child. Show instead of telling. So for me, I have auditory processing difficulties. So at the end of the day, it's even lower my ability. So if you're just bombarding your child with a lot of instructions and do this, do that, your child's not going to feel successful. So do a lot of showing instead of telling. And lastly, quality time, making time to nurture special interests. It takes time. And you just have to keep working on it. And really, the whole process starts from us as the guide. So that is my last slide. I did it. Hopefully that was not too fast. Okay. All right. I will answer questions later. We're going to move on to Matt's presentation. So Matt, let me just tell you a little bit about Matt. Matt and I, we are part of a monthly, actually autistic roundtable support group where about 10 of us gather together as a panel just like this, and it's a free event for autistic adults or also for parents of autistic adults who want to just learn about what it's like to live as an autistic person. And I'm super proud of this group because it's always been every month we share, and we're supporting each other, we laugh and we cry together. It's just wonderful. And this is how Matt and I met. And I asked Matt to do this presentation because my son also has the interest for technology, and he's always in front of the PS4. And so Matt's here going to answer the questions later, but we have recorded Matt's presentation. So Pete, ready to play Matt's part.
Hi, my name is Matt Haberer, and on this presentation, I will be going over harnessing the geek in me, where we'll be going into technology and the special interest of technology. I believe that every person has their own special interest, and I think when it comes to technology, it's an ever-growing industry. And I'm going to be going into a lot of different things about technology when it comes to just learning it, and some tips and ways to nurture technology for your young adult or any age, really. And I'm going to start with a story. At the age of 12, my dad sat me down in front of an old XT computer. It ran at 1 megahertz. It was a big old 10 megabyte hard drive. And he gave me a 1,500-page book about DOS and said, have fun. And I read that book in probably less than a month. And in that time, I learned so much. And I broke that computer several times. I reinstalled the operating system several times. And during that time, I really grew and learned a lot. And this was before Google existed, so I didn't have a choice but to read the book. But now in this day and age, we have so many more resources in our hands, and it's really good to understand how to go forward and help someone to learn about technology, or find out what part of technology you even want to learn, because there's so much out there. And some of my tips for technology goals is, and the point of a technology goal is to help you in the direction of what you're learning. And so tips for learning towards a technology goal, this should be something that takes you anywhere from a month to a year. You could want to build a system and have it do a certain thing, or you might just want to build a little script that says hello world. I mean, any range of things, but it's something you should at least think about, like, what do I want to do, and take that and go further. And then you aim towards something you can't do right now, and you work towards it daily. And even as little as just reading an article can help so much. And so taking that idea, I'd like to really show you also about examples I had in my technology goals growing up and throughout the years. I've been supporting and doing all kinds of different IT work over the last 20 years. And at the age of 13, my dad said, okay, you've learned a lot in a year, and I want you to help wire up and set up my office network. He had a shop where he had machines that needed to have communication back to his office for for certain things, and so he had me get the wire, the network cable, and do the ends of the cables to make sure everything worked correctly, and setting up the software and everything. Obviously, my dad helped me, but that was a pretty big project for me at that time. Later on in my career, I managed 250 employees, contractors, getting their software and hardware and getting set up and helping them out, and doing that daily for a couple of years. And that was something that I really had aimed for, being able to say I ran like a building of, and helped out a building of people, and I did that. Later in my career, the company I was working for was like, we need a help desk system, but we don't have no money to do it. And I researched and found a way to do it with some free software and the virtual machine resources the company had at hand. And that company used that help desk software for years. And another thing is, I came up with projects within my own work to like challenge myself. And in one instance, I found this piece of software that made connecting and doing work so much easier. And I advocated with my bosses to get it done and set up and configured, and even training my own coworkers on it. I believed in it so much. And then just recently, I went, and I used to have Windows as my main computer operating system for years, and I finally switched over to Ubuntu, which is a free open source software. And that really challenging yourself and learning new things, and really stretching yourself, it helps to learn different things, because technology is a growth industry where 6 months from now, the latest technology is obsolete. There's so much like that. And let's see here. Another big thing about a technology goal, or about what I'm trying to get at, is also learn something every day. Learning something every day is so important for when you're trying to grow in a special interest, in my opinion, but also in technology. It's always changing, so you're never going to read everything about any one topic. And part of learning is practicing and trying it yourself. A big tip I recommend is taking notes, and I'll get into a little bit more about note taking here shortly, but while watching training videos or working towards your goal, and this can help with retaining the information. And when learning something, don't be surprised if you have to tons of tabs open on your computer browser, or you have to have notes in different ways, or any number of scenarios you might not think of right now. And I use several types of tools myself to accomplish this. And these are the ones that I recommend just to get started. This Notepad++ is probably my favorite by far. It allows for, it's completely free. It allows for software, code languages to be seen. It's just a great tool. And Evernote's also a really good one. And OneNote is also a really good one. But each one of them, the biggest thing that I really think note taking is so important on is just the act of taking the note helps you get the information in your head. And the bigger benefit, in my opinion, especially as you're growing and learning, is keyword searching it. I think harnessing the technology that you have at your fingertips in the best way possible really helps you to understand what you're learning, but also to go back on it. And just as an example, for myself, I've been taking notes constantly for about 6 or 7 years now. And just when I type the word Linux and I want to look up different Linux related things, I've got so many different resources at my fingertips right now that it far surpasses Google for me a lot of times, because I remember this note I took because I wrote it down, and I'm able to quickly pull it up, and it really helps to have that kind of process involved. And with that, I will now open for Q&A and answer any of your questions.
All right. So now all the panels are here except for Howard Blas. So yes.
Tips when it comes to starting your career, I've got two main suggestions that I really think would help is start early on building a.
Okay. I'm a bit confused. Okay, so I think we're ready for Q&A now, right? Okay, so let me just introduce all of the panels for today. Cody is here, Matt Haberer is here, and Theresa DeMarco is the owner and super mom and mom of Sean, and they own a boutique for neurodivergent artists in New York area, Theresa DeMarco and Sean DeMarco. Welcome, Theresa, and Vanessa and John Almeda are here too. Hi, welcome. And then we have our interns, Julia and Rachel. We have Grace, the founder of Timo, and my colleague T. So if T uses an AAC device to communicate, that's her preferred method. So if anyone has an autistic child here who are still using AAC or who are using AAC devices and you have any questions about special interest, T can help us answer. And Brandy, who is also my sidekick and advisor in this whole project, she's also here. So this is a whole team of wonderful panel, and we're here to answer your questions. So let's get started. So anyone has any questions? Okay, so let me just scroll to the top.
Maisie, I had a question for Matt, if I could.
Okay.
I wanted to kind of come back to that whole finding your Geek, finding your Geek. My son has been a big fan of Goldberg machines, particularly those marble runs. And every Christmas he'll get something like that, and he'll open the box, and no matter how complicated it is, he won't leave it until he's got that thing completed. I'm wondering how I can harness that into some kind of career. What is there a direction I should be pointing him in? Is there activities I should be doing with him? I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
What'd you say? I didn't catch the first part as far as what you said he was really into again. Could you
particular Rube Goldberg machines. They're those very complex machines that do very little.
They're like marble works.
One of the toys he has is the marble works, where you have a whole complex rail of a marble goes around a track, and it goes up and does loops, and it goes through Ferris wheels and whatnot and have you. But he just loves the process of going through that, following the directions and putting that together, similar to what we saw in one of Howard's part of Howard's slide, where you talk about the kid who's putting together IKEA furniture. Colin has a fascination with, working out and problem solving. We give him some pretty complex marble runs.
So just looking at it, because I'll admit I had to Google MarbleWorks to really get a grasp on it for myself. But just looking at it, I would actually say something that could be really interesting for him would be actually CAD related drawing could be very interesting. I just put a website called Tinkercad up on the chat, and it actually allows you to 3D draw pretty much anything, and actually it has a whole library of different 3D blueprints. It's originally meant for 3D printing pretty much anything, and if he's interested in the mechanics and the things moving and things like that, a site like this where he can play with it virtually, and then eventually you could move it to a 3D printer, or the skills involved with making 3D models and things like that, you can have it be an end product like those marble machines in the long run. But it's a very interesting technology, and I think that could be something that could be kind of coincide with his special interest, just from what you're saying about it.
Yeah, I took a look at that, and that actually kind of right up his alley. He's also very fixated on watching YouTube videos of roller coasters and roller coaster designs, things
Nice.
like that. So it seems like he's progressing in a direction, and I just want to, figure out what I could do to nurture that. Thank you very much.
Of course, of course.
Matt, there's a question for you about, is there software like that that involves a physics engine? So you could create tracks and then run it.
Yes, there is. There probably one of the better ones would be the Unreal Engine. It's used for quite a few games like Fortnite and things like that. That would probably be where I would aim towards, as far as if you're trying to make something similar to that. And this would be the link for something like that. I put it in the chat. Learning to work with an engine like that, you could seriously make your own game. So that would be my answer to that one.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Before we move on to other questions, I want to say hello to Vanessa and John.
Hi.
Hello there.
Hi, hi,
Hi, John. We got to see your latest jewelry collection. So I think you've got some new buyers
All
in this
right.
group of people. Yeah. So Vanessa, I have a question for you. I know a lot of the clients that I work with, they have endless energy.
Mhm.
And they are like Energizer Bunny and nonstop
Mhm.
moving for sensory needs or something like that. And I know you have helped John to channel that beautifully. I think I'm interested to know, like, how did you like do that? Like every day, do you have like a set daily schedule, or what does that look like?
So John would go to school every day, and because we live across the street from the transportation district, he was the first pickup at like 6:40 in the morning. So when he would and he was the last drop off, which was like 4 o'clock. So by the time he got home, sometimes he was just kind of exhausted. So he would take 30 minutes to an hour of just, his own kind of quiet time. He used to like watching, Barney. So he really enjoyed it until he was like, Barney, remember Barney? Until he was like probably about 13, he just liked watching that. And so I would make him snacks and food, and, he would watch this and kind of dance along with that. And then I would have him help me make dinner. And if we needed to go to the grocery store, I would write the list out ahead of time and tell him, this is what we're getting. Because when we would go to the store, even now, John wants to buy everything that we buy all the time. So I'll tell him before, okay, the list, we just need this item and that item. And then when we go into the store, he would hunt for it. So I just really included him in every single activity. We started making bracelets at home. I would buy like the color by number, so he could see the number on the canvas and the number of the paint, which went together. And he really enjoyed that a lot. We played a lot of Jenga. He's like a Jenga master. We'd go for a lot of walks. So I think you just have to find what they're interested in. For like John, he's not interested in video games, but his 12-year-old is. Total gamer, knows everything about it. And John tries to engage and understand it, but he'd just rather be outside, working with his hands or going for a walk. So I think if someone sat John down and was like, you're going to do this video game all day, I don't think it would expand his horizon. But if you said, let's go for a walk, he'd probably take you on a 10-mile walk. So it was, I worked full time too. So, it's just, I just exposed him to everything possible. And I'm sorry about this screen. Maybe I should take it off. This is the first time we used a virtual background.
That's okay.
And
no
it's
worries.
like all flashy.
Yeah, it's
okay.
fine. We like flashy.
Okay. We had to watch a tutorial, John, on how to do it, and he picked this photo. So I'm all, okay.
That's okay. He's proud of his photo. Okay, Christy. So I want to, Christy, what do you mean by which website? The Fly Brave Foundation website? Uh, so I'm not really sure which website. Can you type it to us again? Okay, so here's a question maybe for Matt or Cody. I'm interested in starting a podcast on Twitch. Where do I begin? So I don't know anything at all about Twitch. Anyone has
So
a knowledge?
my little sister actually is a Twitch streamer, and luckily Twitch is all pretty it's free as far as to set up. It's all about being consistent on your broadcasts and just doing it regularly. My little sister's been doing it since October of last year, and she's up to 400 followers, and you just have to keep at it pretty regularly. And you set up the account. If you have a Prime account, you get some extra features, things like that. But yeah, an example of a Twitch account is I put my sister's link on there so you can check it out.
Okay. Is there a minimum age for Twitch, Matt? Do you know?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay. Okay. And Rolf is asking, my son loves computers, games, and solving computer type problems and history. Is there a good cross for those two interests? Yeah, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, there are quite a few, and in the resources I provided in your download link, there's one site that has like 24 different online coding sites you can learn from.
Mhm.
And so I would recommend going through those different coding websites and finding one that works best as far as looks and feels for you, and then just get them started on coding. You can make your own fun little games yourself, and when it breaks, you have to learn how to fix it and things like that. So I would definitely recommend getting started in coding, and that can bridge that gap pretty quickly.
Mhm. And also games, Dungeons and Dragons. I think that's a good one. I think for many autistic people, because we're all very imaginative and there is still structure. So D&D, you can find D&D clubs, I believe. So Cody, does anybody have Cody, our resident magician here? Does anybody have questions for Cody?
While we're waiting, I'll answer Rose's question a bit. While I do make too much to receive benefits, the great thing about being a business owner is for any sort of government program, government only considers that profit loss number, not everything you gross, which is why even though I can't do Social Security, I can do Medicaid.
Okay. And along the same line of this particular question, class 5 is about finances, and our one of our autistic board members, Andrew Kamara, he's going to come in and answer your questions about disability benefit and like just this question. Theresa, this was your question. So he has agreed to give us a presentation on that, class 5. Yes, Dungeons and Dragons on the sitcom The Big Bang Theory. Yes, so we have a question here. Okay, someone is interested in cooking. Cooking is great. I'm also interested in learning about different cultures and language. Okay, that's great. Do you have any ideas of what kind of businesses would work well with those two special interests? I got food and travel and culture go together. It's incredible.
And imagine those would be valuable skills at Disney World in particular, since there's not just cooking, but people from all over the world. So like any sort of tourist destination where not just a chef, but a chef that knows a lot of different cultures and languages would be valuable.
Yes. So those are really great special interests. gosh, you can have blogs, you can have YouTube channel. So classes 9 and 10, we have big time YouTubers who can come in, who's going to come in and answer questions for beginning YouTubers wannabe. So make sure you're there. Okay, so does anybody have a question for Theresa about, and actually Vanessa too, about having a brick and mortar place? This is a very interesting model.
So Maisie, can I just add that
Yes.
the boutique that we have, among some of the items that are there is beyond just artists. We've got people who make popcorn and cookies. We've got jewelry makers. We've got authors. It really is a very unique gift shop in that it is really positioned in our community to be a place where you can pop in, you can grab some note cards and some different treats. So we really came up with that idea to give a space. Our motto is basically a shared space with a shared purpose. And we're trying to give all entrepreneurs a retail space to kind of show off what they do. So yeah, we're just a couple of months into the shop, but we're getting a lot of good community support.
Thank you. And Vanessa, you can describe your brick and mortar opening up soon.
Yeah, we hope to open around July 5th, and it is called the Flybrave Emporium, New and Used Gifts. So half of the space is like thrift items, really nice thrift consignment items, clothing, housewares, unique vintage finds. And then the other side of the store is all retail. So we have autistic entrepreneurs from all over selling things. Also, people in our community are coming in to sell stuff like succulents and different things like that. We also have a shirt shop business that we've had for 5 years. So our art and design department is structured on the back wall. So people could just walk in and our artists are there to draw out a shirt and take custom orders. And it also has an attached coffee shop. So the attached coffee shop is called the Anime Cafe. So what it is it's 3,500 square feet of everything. We have an area that people can come in and read books. There's always a puzzle on the table, and it really brings our community and our families together to shop and support one another. And it's just a pretty special place. And it's our program is completely free. So it's all job training. So we have 12 autistic adults, and they are learning, they're building their resumes by running the business, learning how to run the entire business. So
that's amazing. I can't wait to visit. Thank you so much for sharing your place. Someone here is talking about a photography business. I have a recommendation for you. Genevieve Art. So that is actually a great website where they may be able to take your photography. I'm typing it here. Art. They take for beautiful photography and turn them into really beautiful products. They're very selective, and their clients are all corporate, like hotels, so they take your art and turn it into like all kinds of high-end products. So I recommend that. And then we have a ton of questions now. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay. So for the food makers want to be here, or that's the business you want to build, I know with Big Al's Toffee, he's not able to ship outside of San Diego. It's only drop-offs. So I know, Theresa, some of your food artisans are able to ship to you. So I don't understand, is it based on the type of food?
That's a great question. I'm not sure. Some of our items are carefully packaged. So there are jars of jam, there are vacuum sealed like popcorn and dry mixes. I'm not sure if it's based on the food type, but we also, we do get chocolate from Florida to New York. So that's a great question. And I'm happy to inquire of our food vendors and report back.
Yeah, so I think class 4, 5, we have a home-based bakery owner, Nina Self. So she might know about that. Another comment here from a mom whose son loves trains, just like Cody. I would say definitely nurture that, because then he could maybe work someplace related to like train, like museum maybe, or
Yeah,
something
museums
like
and then railroads do still exist. There's Union
Yes.
Pacific, BNSF are still going strong.
Yeah.
And theme parks
Mhm.
have trains. So even a theme park summer job, it's probably pretty
Mhm.
easy to wind up conducting that train.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And maps, Sylvia, maybe you can, railroads and maps, they kind of go together, schedules. So definitely there are other, for each special interest, you can make a list of things that could be related to one special interest, and you'll be surprised how many, road map you might have.
Maisie, can I just
yeah.
add quickly?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yes.
to that point, and I think you and I were talking about it the other day, is, our loved one has a special interest that might seem very niched, but it's really up to us to sort of broaden those circles to see what is related that we might not, automatically think of. As I shared, Sean was, hoping to be a movie critic someday. Movies has been a love since the beginning. But due to some of his challenges, was not able to write. But we managed to find a way in through movie poster collection. So I guess, the advice to parents is, it might seem very niched, but really take those circles out a bit, and you'll find some even related topics that would go with it.
Yeah, and I think traveling, visiting new places, and you can incorporate that special interest. I think for my son, and also for me, I love to travel because I have new things to look forward to that I normally wouldn't even try. So I think that's another way that if your family member has a specific special interest. So if you love trains, maybe go do a trip, and then so it's same different, the concept of same different. That's a wonderful way to expand special interest. Roller coaster, it's great working at Disney or like just theme parks. That sounds like a lot of fun. Revisiting childhood interests, and good motto is practice for maintenance, not necessarily improvement. Keeps you from quitting because it's not perfect. Oh, that's a really good advice. You just practice even though you fail, but you just keep practicing your craft.
Maisie, there was also a question just about maintaining motivation. And I think I would add, and hopefully one of the classes, Sean will be on the panel as well, is to keep it, to start simple and small. I think sometimes we lose a little motivation because we're trying to tackle something that feels very big. But if you could break it down to its smallest chunks, that seems a little more manageable, and you might be able to maintain a little more momentum that way.
Okay, so we have 5 more minutes. Does anybody have any questions for John? John, or maybe John has something to share.
So John's going to Boston in less than 4 months. And so he created a t-shirt fundraiser. And so he wanted to just share that with you guys, that his t-shirt fundraiser is up on our website with his favorite photo in the whole world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to show it to us, Vanessa?
Let me see. Yeah, I can,
While you do that, I will answer this question. Will replays of the classes be available? If you want to get the recording, just send me or Pete an email, and then we can give you access to the recording.
It says that I can't share my screen, but I don't have, the shirt is in the window at the shop.
Okay.
I don't think but you guys, if you go to flybrave.org and then click the events tab, and fundraising pops up right under that.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole page is John with the link to, it shows the photos of the shirt and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think we did it in just 2 hours. This is so great. Amazing. We did it all. And forgive us for all of the glitches, all the ding sounds. And I know that was distracting to me, so it must have been for you guys. And we'll get better next time. It's for all of my team here. It's actually very hard for us. We're all very, very anxious to do this. So forgive all the glitches, but I think we pulled it off. And next class is going to be about self-discovery, understanding neurodifferences. If you are parents, and you can ask all of us autistic adults specific questions. And I was thinking about stimming and doing just a little couple of simple slides about stimming, because it's really important to us. It's our love language, nothing to be afraid of. And, it goes together with just being an autistic person. And so that is next class, self-discovery. And then you'll have another downloadable. I will give you more information about the competition and more info from our donor, and how you will qualify to get this, to be a winner at the end of the 10 classes. So thank you so much. You guys have a great weekend, and thank you for being here. And yes, you guys are all awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Cody, Vanessa, and John, and Theresa, and T. Find T's Instagram account. T runs an incredible Instagram account called Unmask with 2 N's. Unmask with 2 M's, and they are an incredible advocate. If your parents, go find T. If you don't have Instagram, download it just to follow T and everyone else who's here. Thank you for my interns, and Grace, thank you for being here. Thank you, Brandy, and thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, there you are, Grace. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, John.
Bye. Bye.